Mike, me boy, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Pretty fantastic.
That's great.
It's so good to see you.
You too.
How did you fall in love with bass? Bass guitar.
It's kind of a funny story. When I was a kid, my brother, Dan, who you know, met. He's the one that caught the speaker at the...
Yeah, Dan the dancer who caught the speaker.
Before it wiped out the first row of the audience. So he had bought an organ, one of the old 60s organs and an amp. And he never really played it. So I started kind of messing around on that. And I got into a band. I think I knew 2 songs out of the whole band set list. So then, I was playing with this drummer and we hung out. We were good friends. And another guy, guitarist, who's my good friend now, we kind of grew up together. He would get together with the drummer and, keyboard was gone at this point. So they went up to the drummer's attic one day and there was a guitar sitting there, an old guitar with some strings missing. So they're playing. So I picked up the old guitar and plugged it in and just started playing, what were bass lines. I didn't know what I was doing. And the guitarist said, "Hey, you should play bass." So I went and bought a bass and that's how I got into it. And I'm really happy I did.
How old were you then? How old were you that day?
When I bought the bass, I was 14.
Nice.
And I was living on Cape Cod at that time. I had moved from Medford down to Cape Cod. And which gave me a lot of time because I didn't know anybody down there. And all I did was put records on and play along with the bass,
Yeah.
So that's how it started.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool. What amazes me is how responsible the bass is for creating a groove in a song.
Yeah.
I was messing with my birthday song on Snowcake, and
yeah.
I was playing a few different bass ideas, and every single one changed the whole groove and changed the tune. And then when I did that very busy thing, I went, "Oh, this is the one,"
Yeah.
It reminded me so much of what Paul would have done on almost any tune. Even I Should Have Known Better or one of those. And I went, I can't believe the song went in this direction,
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of an underrated instrument in the overall scheme, I think,
It is, and it's so fundamental being at the bottom, but I had no idea how much it could absolutely change the destiny of a song. It's very powerful that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've always thought that bass players and drummers have like a secret language, and very few people have words for it. And I've always been trying to figure out, what do they know about groove that I need to know? Everything.
Yeah. Well, I always said that the bass is the instrument where you're playing rhythm and melody. I mean, all the instruments do to some point, but I think more so the bass, because like you say, you're trying to lock in with the drummer, but you can also kind of move around and play notes and melodies, and so you get the best of both worlds.
It's fabulous, and you've come up with so many beautiful melodies. I mean, even just in just the few songs you've played on my records. Oh my God, the lines that you come up with are so beautiful and so perfect. And then out of nowhere, you like sometimes throw in this line, like in "Love for You." You put in that line that I went, "Oh my God, I have to double that on nylon strip." And it's like you created an arrangement, like you're magically, automatically, just as your musical sense directs you and leads you to play a bass line, you're interweaving such musicianship and such greatness that it actually enhances the song and turns it into something even better than it was before. It just blows me away when you do that.
Thanks so much for that, Lauren. I appreciate it, especially coming from you.
But
songwriter, guitarist, singer, producer. That's you.
That's me. Oh my gosh. And you're a fabulous singer. So then even recently with Make Something Better, it was like Oh my God. It was almost like we were doing one of those duets, you know,
Yeah,
like when they say any two artists and all of a sudden they're up for a category in the Grammys where it's a duet between and they list
yeah.
those that's how important what you sang and you and Mary delivered for that song. That was just extraordinary. And I didn't even foresee that song having that kind of coolness. Like you
Oh
added
wow.
so much extra R&B coolness that it was like, every time I lean anywhere in that direction of R&B for my songs, I just go, okay, this has got to get hit over to Mike, over to you, Mike.
But as far as the vocals, I mean, I love harmony. 2-part, 3-part. And Mary does too, and she's got the ear for it too. So we're always trying to find places to put it, in a song.
Mary the Painter
Yeah,
is a great singer.
yeah.
And she's in the band with you.
She is. She's in my band. Yeah, Mike Bishop group. Yeah.
The Mike Bishop group.
Love the group. Great bunch of musicians and great people. So I'm trying to search out and find some places that we can do, hopefully on a regular basis, and just, we'd be happy doing a gig a month.
Yeah.
That would be
How many
good.
pieces are in the band, and what's the
Let me see. We've got drums, guitar, keys, bass. Mary sings and plays acoustic guitar.
Nice.
Shiki sings, and Mark plays sax. So there's 7 of us.
Jeez.
Yeah, pretty big band.
You need a big stage. You can't even fit all those people on a regular stage, can you?
A big stage is nice. It's rare, but it's nice.
No platforms, please. Just a stage.
That's what was great about the gigs we were doing with AfterFab is we usually had a nice big stage in some of those theaters, and it's a nice situation,
I know. And I had just been saying, I want to be in a band again, and I want to play small theaters. It was so amazing to get that invitation.
Yeah.
And the best thing that came out of it was meeting you and Mary.
Yeah.
That was
great.
a fantastic time and
Yeah.
a really cool band.
A good friendship. Yeah, we did a lot of great things with that band. The not easy music to play with the arrangements and some of the things they did, with strings and horns, but we pulled it off pretty well.
Tons of different sensibilities because there were so many different bass players and guitar players that you and I had to imitate.
Yeah, that's true too. That's true.
Like a whole bunch of different personalities.
Yeah. And then the vocals too, the vocals and the harmonies, and it's a lot of work.
It was pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was so cool to meet Doug. Doug Alexander's a super musician from that band.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
He is. He did some great parts in those songs, covered a lot of different instruments and things,
Yeah, all the sound effects and wildness.
Yeah.
I was amazed when we heard that there were 700 more songs to choose from, and that was back in 2015.
Wow.
So now there's even more.
Yeah. Right.
And 70 #1 hits.
Prolific. Yeah.
Besides the the Beatle hits from 1963 to 70, we're talking about those solo years.
Right.
70 more hits, just amazing. Really
Yeah.
amazing. Now, some of your other influences, though, hadn't been from those Fab guys. They were R&B folks and some really amazing bass players. Like, one of the things I love so much about your bass playing compared to my bass playing is that you're just so incredibly smooth. And the feel, there's like a lilt and a it's like when you hear some of my songs and you start doing this. You put that in the bass line, and it's like
right.
It's like all of a sudden the bass line is dancing now.
Yeah. You just get kind of if it's swinging a little bit or whatever, you just try to get that feel. And as far as the riffs, you're just trying to find some space where there's some space, and you can fill it, without stepping on something else. And then a lot of times I'm listening to the vocal line too, and I'm trying to play something that will support the vocal line, at times.
That isn't new. That I've heard Ringo say that about drums, like he's always listening to the vocal and he plays around the
Yeah.
vocal. Now you're saying that. Certainly, if I'm playing lead guitar, I'm thinking about that. But I think that it comes back to, one of the coolest things about why I love playing with you is that you know how to play to serve the song. That is just such a blessing to a songwriter like me,
Yeah. I think that's what it's all about. It's like I always said, it's like a puzzle, and you're looking for the right puzzle pieces to
Wow.
complete the song.
That is good. That is good. Because we know a good song is like a melody and some background chords, and that's it. It's like if it's good, it can exist just like that.
Right.
Vocal and guitar, vocal and piano,
Right.
vocal and some kind of chordal instrument, and there aren't that many.
Yeah. Yeah.
But all the other stuff then becomes like the icing on the cake, like and filling it out like you had no idea it was a meat pie.
Right.
This song's a whole meal now.
Yeah. No, but I think the musicians that my favorite musicians that I play with are musicians that are listening. They're always listening. They're always hearing what the other instruments are doing and what the vocals are doing, and you play off of that. That kind of inspires you to do something, and hopefully are inspiring someone else to create too.
Right. Oh, that's good. That's so good.
Yeah.
I think that that interaction is so important, and then you and I came and met through something that was already decided. Like we weren't making those choices, So
Right.
then you needed to make the choices for my songs. I don't think I ever once heard you say what I've heard some bass players and drummers say to me. Okay, you're doing everything. You've got the bass line in there, you've got the rhythm, and you've got the song. Like, what do you want us to play? Like your guitar part's busy and it's got a lot of stuff. And I would think, but do they say that to Tori Amos? Do they say that to Elton John? It's like, come up with something that fits around what I'm doing, because I'm really attached to this guitar part.
Well, I think I write the same way. I have a lot of stuff going on. There's multiple guitar parts and keyboards and maybe horns, and so I'm kind of used to that. I think
Right.
Yeah.
So
and I love what you do with your chords, and you play some great chords. Very different. I know you're always searching for interesting chords.
Yeah. So. Interesting voicing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always admired the students I've had that aren't afraid to just try to put their fingers anywhere instead of thinking, well, I don't know the shape down here. I don't know what fingering to use, or I don't know how to find a chord. I'll just play the basic chord I know or whatever. But, a lot of people like to noodle on piano because you can play anything and put almost any bass note under something and get a whole other tonality.
The bass note changes the chord a lot of times,
Absolutely. So the chord over a bass note, that slash chord, makes things very, very delicious and interesting. And then hybrid chords when there's a chord in each hand. But with guitar, you can do that as well because you've got 6 voices, you've got 6 strings. You don't need all of them in every moment. And I really like the students that will just hunt and peck like I do and just search and explore and find something they like and then figure out what it is, because it's never something off of Mars. It's not something that never existed before or something in harmony. It's just that it's new to your fingers. It's new to your eyes as a shape. You didn't realize, oh, it's just a G chord. It's just a G line, something like that. I remember thinking I made up some voicings, and then I found them in the Bill Levitt books when I was about 12 years old.
Oh, really?
That's a real thing.
Yeah. So many people playing for so many years, it's hard to find something that I guess someone hasn't done. But you can make it sound like it's your own, though, by context, how you use it, and the rhythm of it, the timing of it. There's so many things you can do. You know?
Absolutely, absolutely. But I think a lot of us just do it naturally too. I mean, we're not even thinking, what can I do to make
Right.
this different? I mean, like for me, I'm
Right.
always just trying to explore and take my ear by surprise and give me something that actually matters to me in that moment, like make me feel something. And I go, oh, like that, if that gives me goosebumps or makes me emotional, I think I'm on the right track here. I like
Right.
this, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
How did you define that for you? Like, how did that happen for your writing?
Well, I mean, that's what you're describing. That's all I ever did, was just keep searching for something that sounded good to me, because I'm not a school musician. I didn't take lessons and I don't know how to read. And
Mm.
so I was just, luckily, thankfully, I was blessed with good ears. And even that I didn't realize until later. I always thought, well, everybody can hear that. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. And you find out later that no, that's not true.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
just
very much
just
so.
just searching on the bass, and then I started picking up the guitar, and just same thing with guitar. I didn't know what I was playing. I didn't even know what the chord was. I would just look for notes that sounded good and play them together, and put them down on a cassette tape or whatever. We had the old. I think you had one too. The old cassette 4 tracks.
I didn't have a 4-track cassette machine, but I did have old cassette decks, the little ones,
Yeah.
portable ones, and I also had the big ones that look like console stereo gear, where you had a cassette
Yes.
machine that went with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Yeah, but when I got the 4 track, then I could play my bass line and a guitar part and a vocal part. And that was just a great thing to have.
Finally, there's a dream machine to hear all your ideas back at once, right?
Right. And then I had boxes, and I still have them, boxes and boxes of cassette tapes with little ideas on them. It's just,
Me too.
they're not songs. And then, when I got the computer and learned how to use that was a real godsend, because I could flesh everything out, and it was just so easy to put the songs together. And that's when I feel like I really became more of a songwriter, where I could just complete something, take the idea and just spend whatever time you needed. Sometimes it takes a long time to build the song and complete it, work it out.
And now you finally had a digital sound so that it was clean. Like you could
Right.
just keep overdubbing. There was no
Right.
takes.
Right. Exactly. You didn't have to bounce tracks.
You could turn any demo into an actual finished record,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
because the quality was decent. Oh wow,
Yeah.
what an incredible thing.
Yeah.
It is totally amazing, actually, what we all have access to now.
Yeah.
But I love what you said, that you weren't thinking in terms of harmony or theory or any of those things. I mean, as my students learn theory and harmony, and then they're asked to use some of the basic things they're learning, the basics do sound like homework songs. So they go, I don't really like this. I don't like knowing what I'm doing because it sounds like a homework song. But they don't realize that that's the exercise that they're doing for the class. It's not how you should write, or
Right.
limited, just stay diatonic or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
I felt very insecure studying with Mick Goodrick when he said he wanted to study with me back in the 90s, and we spent 3 semesters together. He was doing different mentoring with the faculty, the guitar faculty at Berkeley.
That's a great compliment to you, that he wanted to work with you.
Well, he had heard me talking about working with Sandra Kott, who's another teacher at Berkeley who plays violin with the Boston Pops.
Oh,
And she
yeah.
came over to play a melody. I just had a couple of little melodies I wanted to play on. She played on Baby's Blue on the Two True album, and she played on The Garden. And around that time was Constant Craving. And I loved the chunk, 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 chunk,
Oh,
chunk,
yeah. Yeah.
chunk, chunk, chunk kind of a sound. So I wanted that kind of percussive thing. And then I had a na 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 na. So I wrote down this melody, and I didn't dare put any of the bowing. I thought, she plays with the Pops. I mean, she knows what she's doing. I don't have to put down bowing. But the first question she asked me was, well, how would you like me to play this? And she literally played that little melody I just sang 14 different ways. And they
Wow.
each had different emotional impacts.
It's amazing.
I was like, get my jaw back up off the
Yeah,
floor. Because if I had given those notes to any guitar player, they would have went ding, 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 ding. That's the rhythm. Those are the notes. That's what you've got. And it's like, there's so much more. And horn players and violin players, viola players, string players know this. So they're taught a whole bunch of different things that guitarists are never taught because they have to play together.
Right.
They have to play as a section. So they play as one, whether there's 3 of them, 2 of them, 15 of them, and they all have to do long, short, soft, loud, into it, long, bow, sustain, chop sound. Like they all have to do it together so that they sound like one. So they learn not only the notation for that kind of articulation and personality for the composer or the arranger's idea, but they learn how to actually play it and deliver it that way. So when Mick overheard me talking to another teacher explaining this and how blown away I was by this, he came over and tapped on my shoulder and said, "I want to study with you." I was like, "Oh God," And then I told him, I said, I've never even taken any composition classes at Berklee when I was a student. I just sort of explore and hunt and peck and reach for some kind of feeling. And this note wants to go up and this wants to go down and this one wants to sustain and this one wants a different bass note. And I just feel where the song should go. And he said, "That's how you're supposed to write."
Right.
And that just blew me away too,
Yeah. Yeah.
Permission from the guitar department guru. Thank you. Because people forget about the emotional side of it. What's the impact of it? And I've never liked those discussions of, well, what do you like better, your left brain or your right brain? Or what do you think's more important, your brain or your heart? Or what do you think's more important, your soul or your body? Or, it's just like, oh my God, we are this entire thing.
Right.
And this whole interface, this whole wonderful thing that we live in perceives music.
It all matters. Yeah.
It all matters.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just exist on an intellectual plane.
Right.
Yes, I can describe it. Yes, I can put it into language and ask you specifically for what I want now that I know the language to read and write music, let's say, or any, for any player. But the feeling of it is always the most important thing.
Right.
And people don't realize that. They just try to stuff as much knowledge into each song as possible. And it's like, you can't possibly put everything you know and love and you're interested in every song. It just doesn't sound right.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, playing or writing for the song, like we were talking about earlier, whatever that song is,
Yeah. And a lot of times, go ahead.
You had mentioned McCartney's bass playing earlier, and how he was one of the most melodic bass players, I think, maybe because he was a guitarist before he played bass.
Yes, probably.
But then again, a lot of guitarists that I hear, when I hear them play bass, I said, that's a guitarist. That's not a bass player. You can kind of tell, but not with him. He played like a bass player, but he was very melodic. But then again, he'd have songs like Let Him In, where he'd just be playing the one note, boom, 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 almost the whole song. It's just whatever worked for the song.
Or Get Back, boom, 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 boom. And wasn't that fun? You probably saw the Get Back special where he was actually writing it. He was playing the bass almost like a guitar to write that song.
Oh, yeah.
And he writes the song on camera. He reaches in and says, "We need another song." And he just starts fooling around and this thing pops out. And so many people that don't write songs were so amazed by that. And I thought, that's how we all do it.
Right.
That's how it happens for any human being.
Yeah. It's just a seed. The idea, the first idea is like a seed.
Yeah.
And then you have to cultivate it,
Yeah. And not kill it before it has a chance to grow.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, well, a lot of people do. They talk themselves out of it, like, well, this is a stupid idea.
Yeah.
I have people say to me all the time, well, how do you write a song? And I say, oh, come on, you must have sung something in your life, anything. Like you're looking around going, where did I put my keys? Like that kind of thing. There's a melody to it. And because of,
I like that. I like that one. Where did I put my keys? No voice yet today.
Oh, there are my shoes, like stuff. But there's rhythm in language, right? The strong and weak beats of every syllable, and you usually sing it right if you're doing something silly like "Where did I put my keys?" or something like that, and
Yeah.
you wouldn't go "Where did I put my keys?" And though I thought, it's just like you'd keep it the way it makes sense
Right.
for language. And if people would remember that, then their songs would have more singability to them.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that from a conversation with Paul Simon and Sammy Cahn.
Oh,
There was
wow.
a TV show on when I was a kid, and I was like at the edge of my seat listening to these two talk about how they wrote songs. And Sammy Cahn kept saying it has to have a singability. It has to be able to roll off your lips. And the prosody of it, how the rhythm of the words fit the melody of the song with all the strong and weak beats. Like what
Yeah.
is that going to be on? I don't consciously think about those beats.
Right.
We just sing things because we've heard a lot of great music, you and I.
Right.
Our sensibilities, our frame of references. Kate Chadbourne would tell me, like, that's a great phrase, the frame of reference in which you're using anything you've ever heard before is in there.
Absolutely.
And it depends what you're listening to or how cool your sensibilities are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's right.
Pretty fascinating.
Yeah. You working on any new songs yourself?
I've been working on trying to clean up 63 years of my life. I have
I think
moved.
we all do that.
I have moved a million times, and thankfully, this last move to this house here, I've been here now 17 years, and yet because of all those other unexpected moves, things were just put in boxes and expected to go through sometime later.
Right.
And things have been so crowded and so crazy. And I'm looking back, I just opened a trunk I've had since grade school on, and I've put all kinds of things in there, parents' anniversary things and every degree and every.
Like a time capsule, right?
It was time traveling, and some of it was hilarious, and I had no idea I still had it, and I thought, why? Like,
Yeah.
it is time to recycle. And so, yeah, there have been some lot of changes, and just trying to make space, and my life feels bigger and more open. So I haven't really been in the studio creating music or writing songs since the release of Snowcake, which was just a couple months ago.
Yeah.
I had to change something in the mixer, but at least it works. I turned it on and found out Stevie Wonder is alive and well.
Oh, good.
Mike actually helped me. Mike and Mary carried Stevie Wonder to the spot it is in.
Better tell people who Stevie Wonder is.
Stevie Wonder is an Audient 4816 mixer, an analog mixing console that I bought. And when the seller was selling it, he said, "Well, you're going to have to carry him down the stairs. He weighs 250 pounds. It's like carrying Stevie Wonder."
So the board became Stevie Wonder.
Yeah. And like I've always said, who wouldn't want a Stevie Wonder in their studio? I mean,
Absolutely.
can you imagine if we could play with Stevie Wonder and write with Stevie Wonder? Wow.
A genius, one of the geniuses of our time. Yeah.
Just loved growing up with him. Thank God for him.
Yeah.
Adding some R&B flavor to my stuff. Wow. Now, you said you can tell when it's a guitar player playing the bass. What are the telltales?
Usually, not all the time.
What is it that stands out to you almost as a negative that isn't the cool bass thing that I'm after? Like, what can I do to improve my bass?
I don't know. I really don't know what it is. Maybe it's that smoothness that you were talking about. Maybe it's just, it feels natural. It's like when I see you play the guitar and everything, you make everything look so easy. Your chords and your changes and your rhythms. And I think it gets to be like that with the bass too. It's just, it feels natural in your hand. It's just easy to play, and I'm sure most guitarists don't spend a lot of time playing the bass. If you're like me playing guitar, like I'm usually playing bass, and I don't practice guitar. I play guitar when I'm trying to write something. And I'm usually so rusty that I have to play it over and over and over until I can feel comfortable with it again, you know.
Yeah, right.
But I should play more often with guitar, but I just basically do it mostly when I write, you know. And I would imagine it's probably the same way for a guitar player playing bass.
I see. Yeah, yeah. In fact, we probably should play some of those other instruments with some of the great players that inspire us on those instruments and
Yeah,
learn how to feel and play along so that we're hitting the notes, landing on the notes, sustaining the notes, all the stuff the violin players do, right?
right.
Like, you know, if you took one violin lesson, a half-hour lesson is still, here's a note,
Yeah,
and play it back exactly like that. And if they go, "Vroom," they go, no, here's the note. And then they're wanting the right intonation, the right sustain, the right position, there's so much to teach,
yeah,
and guitar
yeah,
players are so slipshod about it. That's what drives me crazy. It's like they're not knowing the best guitar players or the best bass players to imitate. And it's like just to get that beautiful round note to sit in the right place and to not buzz or fret out or have their action
right.
too low.
Yeah.
All those things, everything makes a difference. And all
Mhm.
that little stuff that like isn't in focus is
Right.
really obvious.
Did you ever take violin lessons?
You
I thought you were talking from experience, maybe.
No, but I've witnessed certain things,
Right.
certain classes. I used to be fascinated going into Eugene Friesen's class, and he'd have a whole small string ensemble and watch them read and practice, and I was just floored at the details and the care,
Yeah.
the details, and that's what I loved about playing and singing with you in AfterFab, is because you were really after those details as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think we all were pretty much in that band, you know. We
yeah,
wanted to make it sound right.
yeah.
Yeah.
There is a right, and I like when you say the puzzle pieces, like those folks on any of those records that we've ever tried to imitate, uh, we're looking for all the right parts as well. So once you've got them, I didn't want to put my spin on them. I wasn't going to play it the way I want to play it. I
Right.
wanted to play it like they did. I wanted that impact and that emotional reason for why that part was there. You know?
Right. And being a tribute band, which is what we were,
Right.
that's sort of what you're going for. You want it to sound like them playing it as
Yeah.
opposed to how you would do it, you know.
And you can't help but being you, you know? So
Right.
as time would
Right.
go by, things would drift and I would start playing things differently,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And it's just, this is the way I hear it, or this feels good to me. And it's like, well, your center of gravity is pulling it this way, but it doesn't go like that, you know?
Right.
And
Yeah.
you have to
You
keep
can't
going back
avoid
to
it
the
to a
rhythm.
point, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't avoid it.
yeah.
Being yourself, playing you like you do.
And
But
how unnatural it was for us to be in that band. And I was in that other Sound Alike band for 12 years, uh, doing the Beatle years. It's such an unnatural thing to do. It's like being a classical player or playing in the pit band of a Broadway play or something. Like it has to be this way
right.
every night. And
Right.
that would be so unnatural if we were like, let's say we were just on tour playing our original tunes. There'd be this leeway. We wouldn't play it
Right.
exactly.
Right. You don't want to play it the same every night, probably with an original thing, you know.
Yeah,
You want some
yeah.
improvisation. But I
I,
think because I don't know if you felt like this, but because I had the original thing, I was writing songs and at one point had my original band playing. So I had that aspect also. So it wasn't, you weren't just doing the tribute thing and trying to copy someone. You had your own thing that was where you could be a little more creative, you know?
yeah, definitely. I mean, I've always had my own thing. For some reason, you know, I found how to write a song when I was 10 years old. And I didn't know how it happened, but it felt like I had gone into a whole other creative place, like a whole other room, and all this magic was happening. And I thought, what is this? This is
Yeah.
amazing. I love feeling like this. Will this ever happen again? How do you make this happen again?
Right.
And my whole life, it's been about, let me learn as much as I can about all the different instruments and things I love about music, but make my own noise, make my own music. And because I love the Beatles, the quick answers from other people are, oh, I can hear the Beatle influence, or, she's a Beatle clone. And it's like, I feel like my music is such a combination of things. Certainly the best inspiration came from the Beatles. And
Right.
I felt like I learned nearly everything from them because of their sensibilities, their humor, their sense of freedom, their ability to groove, their feel in their songs, how to play a really good sounding guitar, bass, come up with bass lines, come up with string lines, all the sensibilities and inspiration from Sir George Martin. Oh my God, the arranging ideas. It just goes on and on and on about how to produce, how to arrange, how to get good sounds from those great engineers.
Yeah.
There's tons of stuff to admire and have and continue from. Like it's like they never disappoint you when you put them on. There's still something so joyous about it that it just goes, and all your chakras spin and you feel great again,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
that
I hear the Beatle influence in a lot of your songs, but then I hear other songs that you wrote that are just completely different. You have such a wide range of style that you write in.
I don't even think of styles, but like when you study drums, they're like, can you do a Latin beat? Can you do this beat? Can you swing? Can you play pop rock? Can you play, like it's like a drum machine. Just cue it up and go,
Yeah.
And I heard Jeff Lynne say on his BBC special that he liked pop rock because it's all the styles. And I went, what a great thing, because I've always said my stuff is pop rock or art rock or rock. And of course it's going to merge and blend and mix things up in a different way, because that's what pop rock is. Of course.
It's a great thing.
What a great definition.
Yeah.
But I was never set out to say I would like to merge this and this and come up with my own blend of something. I think it was just, again, like
it's just your influences come out,
Yeah. And people who knew me well or listened to me practice a lot, like roommates and various friends who were around, or other players and other bands I was in, they could always tell who I was listening to because those flavors would seep into my music.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find that for your writing?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, do you ever get like the Beatles and go, oh, let's write one of them?
I don't remember doing that specifically, like intentionally trying to sound like somebody. But I think, like you said, it's all in there. Everything that you've heard, and I've been into so many different styles of music over the years. I went through a phase listening to a lot of jazz, and then the jazz fusion in the 70s, and loved Herbie Hancock and Billy Cobham, and always loved the soul stuff, the rock, the Beatles, everything, just Allman Brothers and Santana, and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's all different. Like the Santana stuff, you'd get the Latin influence and the R&B soul, and the funky stuff, and it's like you get all of that, and you can just draw from it.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Super, super cool. I think it was more for a writing thing when the Beatles would say that. It's like, let's write one of them.
Oh yeah.
Like if they were doing harmony vocals, especially, let's be the Beach Boys on this one, or let's be with Mac, and they would, certain harmony vocals or instrumentation ideas would come to mind because of that flavor or that particular album they were listening to, and say, let's add some of this coolness from this inspiration into this tune,
Right.
I had picked up the song Let's Stay Together by Al Green, and I was trying to get some of my students to play some of these chords that are in that song. I just thought it'd be a fun song for them to cop the feel of and learn how to play rhythm.
Something a little different, yeah.
Because a lot of guitar players aren't playing rhythm guitar at all anymore. They don't play more than one note at a time, and they don't play anything less than 6. They're always killing all 6 strings. And it's like, but there's lots of little things in between 1 and 6 strings that you can do, and that's really cool with guitar.
Yeah.
So I taught them how to play Let's Stay Together, and I had never played that song before. And I thought, no wonder I've always loved this song. It's got so many chords in it that I love, like minor nines, you know?
Right,
It's
right.
like
A lot of
third.
harmony in the chords, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then that's what this thing was starting to come up. I was like, I got to write a song with this sort of.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great feel.
So that's
Yeah.
when I wrote Dance with Your Darling, which started off as Dance with Your Penguin. I don't know. Maybe it's because of this. I don't know why it turned into Dance with Your Penguin, but
Yeah, when you sent it to me, it was Dance with Your Penguin.
yeah.
Great song, though.
I love what you played on there. Again, you just
Fun.
like you added like the James Jamerson, which was just like, thank you. So cool. But you play with lots of other people, all kinds of other bands, and probably other songwriters, and you teach and do a whole bunch of singing with other people.
Yeah, I haven't done much teaching, but just a little bit. I think I've kind of stayed away from that because I don't read, and you know, thinking a lot of people want that, and you know, I would be able to teach reading and that kind of thing, the theory, you know.
You'd be surprised. I mean, I've taught over 10,000 people at Berkeley now since 1984, and very few of them want anything to do with reading.
Yeah.
And now even less, you know. So yeah, reading's not the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. I think more the feel, how to hold it correctly, how to get a really good sound. Teach me this bass line, or how can I
Yeah.
get my fingers to do this? You know, you'd probably be able to show them something they can work on, even if
Yeah.
it isn't a scale, to get their fingers working, because
Right.
you know, there's a whole physical aspect to any instrument besides anything you understand about what could happen
Right.
theoretically or harmonically.
Right. Yeah. That's amazing that you've taught that many people.
It's insane.
You
That
know,
doesn't even include high school.
think of all the people and what they're doing, and you've had an influence on them, you know, probably in their life also, as well as musically, which is really cool.
I do hear from some folks from time to time, and they're
Yeah.
still thinking about some of the things we talked about, which is fun. But I've gotten inspired by them as well, you know.
Oh yeah.
Every
Yeah.
once in a while there was somebody who really had something going on that you go, that's really cool.
Yeah. You never stop learning.
No,
With music. You never stop. You
thank
know?
God.
Yeah.
So great. But
Yeah.
you know, I don't think you should shy away from teaching at all, because you know so much, and a lot of people, especially even on bass, just want to be better. And you would know how to help them get better because you know what you worked on.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
I mean, that's all it is just like sharing what you love, because I never had desires to be a teacher. I was just, you know, I love guitar. I can share what I love about it.
Yeah, but you do a great job of teaching and conveying information. I've seen you, you know, in your videos or working with someone. You're really good at it, you know.
Thank you. Well, I think, like you say, it's the background, the sensibilities, the hearing other great musicians talk about stuff. You just the experiences you've had with your bands and all the people you've played with in your life, all the albums you've made and all the sessions you've been on. It's like just being there and talking. You know
Yeah.
what's happening, and you can see like talk about puzzle pieces fitting and not fitting. It's like, well, we just need to get this to line up a little better. You know, like it's almost pretty obvious what's wrong with something sometimes.
Yeah. Right.
Sometimes. I think it was funny that I'm laughing at myself there, because Mike Harmon of Wachusett Recording was recording himself playing drums and you playing bass on Love for You
Right.
off of Snowcake. And because he was taking a DI and an amp signal, a mic'd amp at the same time, he would have thought of this right away. But because I don't usually mic a bass amp because my bass amps breathe and make noise, I usually just go direct.
Right.
We were trying to fix one bass note.
Oh yeah.
We couldn't get anything to sound good because the old bass note was still there in the
Oh
recording
yeah.
on all the drum mics.
Oh right. Yeah. So
because
that was the
of
note
the
we were
live.
talking about, right? That was the one that we were talking back and forth about. It's funny because I listened to what you gave me originally, and what I do is, I usually break it down. I'll take the intro and make up a bass part for the intro, and then most of the time, and then go to the next section and make up and then kind of tie them all together.
Nice.
Yeah, but I do it on the phone. I just put the recorder on. I have a little recorder app on the phone, and I was listening to it, and I said, "Geez, that bass note I played there, it fit. It sounds good." So I didn't know if maybe you had added some things later that changed the chord, or.
Oh, when you listened to the album eventually, when it was done?
Well, yeah. I mean, we talked about changing the bass note because it didn't seem to be working with the chord. But when I listened to what you had originally given me, it seemed to work. The original note that I played. So I didn't know if maybe you had added. I know you layer things sometimes, and maybe something was layered on that clashed with that bass note, or.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting thought. I probably just played it differently.
Yeah.
Right. So I think what happened was I added an extra diminished chord, probably unexpectedly, to the version that we all eventually made a record with.
Right.
And the original demo I sent of the song probably didn't have that diminished chord there.
That's what it was.
But then all of a sudden we were up a half step from that last bass note, and both of them were happening at the same time. And then we couldn't get it to sound good because the old bass note was still in all the drum mics.
How did he fix that? What did he do eventually to fix that?
Well, I fixed it. I just realized that if I did a pitch shift on any of the bass notes, just go up half a step, all of them had to go up half a step.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So then that's what's on the record now.
Yeah.
But little things like that can drive you crazy for a while, and you don't think of it because you didn't set up the session. You don't realize where it's coming from or why this is odd.
Right. Yeah.
I just remember sitting between the two mics, between bass and drum mic, bass mic, and just trying not to cry because it was just so gorgeous.
Really? Wow.
The two of you were playing such beautiful things to that song. Oh.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a fun day.
Oh, it was good. It was like my first time out in public after 3 years of being at home, pretty much.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, and then we had our little percussion tracking after that, where we do three tracks with the three of us playing all different percussion instruments each time.
Twice, yeah.
Oh, twice. Yeah.
Well, we did 3 instruments together.
3 instruments 2 times.
Shaking things and hitting things like, okay. And then we did it again. Each picked up something else and did it again. So yeah, it was twice. So there are 6 things, 2 of each of us.
Right.
On that song, playing a whole bed of percussive fun.
Yeah.
I was so worried if that sounded like a bossa nova, like I didn't want it to go into corny land.
Yeah, right.
Even though it was sort of still bossa nova, it didn't go into corny land. It sounded more like Sting, which was good.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah, I love what you guys did. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for asking. Love doing it.
What's on the agenda for you? What have you been working on or thinking about working on?
I've got the bands going, and I'm kind of going over that material to make sure it's ready to go.
Yeah.
And we're playing the Santana Tribute. Abraxas is playing this Saturday at a theater in Beverly, the Larkin Theater.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that'll be a nice gig. And then we're playing on, I think it's the 24th of June. It's a Saturday. Date may not be exact, but down at the Spire in Plymouth.
Oh, cool.
Have you checked that place out at all?
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah, it's an old church, and they converted it to a concert venue, and it's really cool. They have a nice sound system and lights, and
super.
My friend Woody Bavoda runs the lights down there. So
nice. Yeah. And that's the same band going to do those 2 shows?
Yeah, that's the Santana Tribute, Abraxas. Yeah.
Wow. And how many people are in that band?
That can vary.
29.
Yeah. Sometimes he uses 2 percussion players and a drummer. Sometimes 1 percussion player and a drummer. Then the keys, bass, guitar. And sometimes he has a front person singing. Sometimes I'm singing.
Oh,
Just
sweet.
it all depends. He sets it up differently depending on the gig, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have to change things around, like all of a sudden you're singing harmony instead of the lead or something?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot to remember.
Yeah. There's not a lot of harmony. There's a lot of, with the Santana songs that we're doing, there's a lot of sort of group unison singing.
Oh, wow.
There is some harmony, but not a tremendous amount.
Those kinds of sing-along thingies with the...
Oh yeah, como va.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. My two most gigging band experiences of other music other than my own, I think, came through, one through the internet and one through the newspaper. I remember Phil Collins found the ad to join Genesis, like,
Oh yeah.
an acoustic drummer.
Wow.
Sensitive to good songs and stuff like that. Again, somebody that's going to play a part that doesn't steamroll through the lyric, right?
Right.
The vocal. He found Genesis in the paper, and I thought, God, it'd be so cool to find a good band to be in the paper. And I was looking through Northeast Performer magazine in 1995.
Yeah.
And it was the issue was a month old, but I saw an ad that said, established Beatles tribute band seeks lead guitarist, vocals a must, George Harrison, where are you? And I was like,
like they wrote it specifically to you.
Right, so I had to call up and say, I'm right here, like,
right? Yeah.
Don't be fussed that I'm a woman, I can really play and sing. And I love to. And then finally somebody called me back, but the reason they weren't calling me back wasn't because they were concerned that I wasn't male. It was because they thought I was really from Liverpool and they were scared to pick up the phone.
Nice job on the accent.
They're like, is that, like, that was fun. But you can be, too picky with things like that. I mean, I drove those guys crazy and was such a stickler when my students started coming up to me saying your bass player and keyboard player aren't playing the right parts.
Yeah.
I would lose it. I'd get so upset that we were slipping. I really wanted to stay at that level, or, so I got fired from that band.
Oh, wow.
For that reason, for being a pain in the ass, basically.
Yeah. Well,
And,
somebody should be doing that in a tribute band. You want to keep it, accurate.
Well, like we've talked before, I mean, I can get too opinionated about things and I have to learn how to be gentler and not, such a musician snob, I guess. But I have certain things that I just like a certain way. And if it's going to benefit the song or benefit the group, I can bend a little. But if it's just, nonsense, I just feel like it's lower quality and it bugs me, so I can't.
Yeah. You're trying to make it right. That's what it's about.
And then when AfterFab found me, that was great, but that was like a little trick because he was just inviting me to go hear you guys play.
Right.
And then P.S. I'm also looking for a slide player if you know anybody. And I was like,
and I didn't even know that he was doing that at that point. So
I was like hoping I really liked the band. And one of the first things I heard you guys do was Come and Get It. And it just blew me away. I was so excited. I thought, I just have to be in this band. I love this so much. What a great idea,
Oh, yeah. It was a great idea. Yeah.
Super fun. And to this day, I don't think anybody else is still doing it. I remember there was that one, but I don't see them around.
Yeah. I don't know if they're still together. And I still think they may have been an offshoot where somebody heard us and sort of put that together.
Really?
I think so, but I could be wrong. Yeah.
Well, I know even when I joined that first Beatle band, there were already 3 or 4 other bands with the name Get Back. And then we changed it to All Together Now and Getting Back and all kinds of things. But there was still so many other bands with the same. It's just that when we started, Paul really wasn't touring that much.
Oh, yeah.
So people weren't hearing those songs, and he wasn't doing the Beatles catalog at that point.
Right.
So where we played, it was a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though it was like a gazebo band.
Yeah, right.
People loved the songs, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, there was lots of bad videos and bad recordings of in the beginning a good band.
Yeah.
Oh God. What's your most favorite stuff to play though? Because like at this point I probably wouldn't be interested in doing any tribute things. It's just too much work.
Yeah.
But you're still
think,
doing it.
well, I mean, as you mean as a bass player or just
Well,
the type
anything,
of band?
right? As a songwriter, what kind of band would you like to be in? As a bass player, what kind of band do you want to be in? Or what kind of stuff do you want to do? Or you have more albums planned? Or I've always wanted to help you make more albums because, you know, it's like I've got the studio. It's like
yeah. I mean, I've got a ton of material. You know, I'd love to do another album.
Yeah.
Yeah. I you know, when I did the first one, I did it in Oak Grove Recording. You were there. You came in and did some tracking in there, and Joe Laquidara is a good friend. And but it's, you know, it's expensive to do it in the studio, so that's kind of a drawback. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to do another album or two. You know, and as far as style, I mean, I love playing everything. But the for a bass player, the R&B, soul, and funk stuff, you get to play a little bit, you know, as opposed to some of the other styles where you're just kind of playing a root a lot of times or just basic, which, you know, I like that too.
Especially if you're singing, right? Because then there's something to focus on.
Or just, I mean, if you're playing that stuff, just locking in with the drummer, like you were talking about earlier, just, you know, and trying to get that really tight and enhancing the song, you know. It doesn't matter if it's simple or complicated, you know, it just depends on the song, you know. So, but it's fun to do the old soul and funky stuff as a bass player.
Yeah. And what other instruments do you play?
Like the 6-string guitar, kind of hack around on that. I played a little bit of keyboard on the album, but I don't consider myself a keyboard player at all. It's just sort of just finding a few chords and recording them. It's, you know, I can't sit down and play a song on the keyboard, although I'd love to. You know, if I found the time to practice it, I might be able to do that. But you know, I never play unless, like I said, unless I'm writing. Yeah. And percussion. I like playing some percussion, like we did in the studio. It's always fun. Yeah.
I know what you mean about the playing though, because like bass players and drummers from the very beginning desire to play with other people.
Right.
It's like
you have to.
You have to. You're socialized to do that. Guitar players and piano players are taught to be virtuosos.
Yeah.
And it's like if you look up and remember, oh, there are other people in the world you can play with, you're like, what? You know, I can do everything myself, you know.
Yeah. Or you can go out and do a gig even, but, you know, singing and playing a guitar. Nobody wants to hear a bass player go out and do a solo gig. Just the bass and a vocal. It's always fun, but the writing, like we were talking about earlier, just, I mean, it feels so good to create something like you were talking about when you were 10 years old. To be able to create something, and it's just such a rush to, you know, come up with something. What's that?
People feel that with everything, don't they? Like if it's a painting or a drawing or
definitely.
You know,
I would think so.
Solving of a problem or making pieces fit is just so exciting.
Yeah.
That whole creative
just
process.
creating something out of nowhere. You get an idea, and then, you know, you put a couple of chords together, and hey, that sounds really good. And then you start singing something to it. You know, maybe a few lyrics, and it feels great.
It's fantastic. Yeah, there's nothing better, and I think it's because we're playing with magic,
Yeah.
playing with the power that creates worlds. It's like we are extensions of source energy, right? So it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
holy cow, there it is. Because I don't know where that idea came from, but that's
Yeah.
perfect.
Right.
That totally fits.
Yeah.
So great.
And I was so happy on my album that, I had asked you to play some slide on one of the songs, and you said, sure, I'll play. And, that was great. And I came home and I put the songs on that I had, and I said, it's not going to work on that song. It's not going to work on that song. It's not going to work on that. I didn't have a song that I felt like the slide would work on. So I said, I'm going to have to write something.
Oh, that's great.
And that's when I wrote The Source, which is probably one of my favorite songs on the album.
Such a great album.
Yeah. And I mean, I started writing that with the slide in mind. And I said, well, what am I going to write it about? What are the lyrics going to be? And you send a lot of times the videos of
Abraham
the woman. She talks about the source and
the teachings of Abraham Hicks. Yeah.
Yeah. And Wayne Dyer used to do it on PBS before that. And he was great at it. And so I said, well, that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to use that as as the lyrics. And that's where the lyrics came from. So
that's great.
Thanks for that song. I wouldn't have had it otherwise.
Who knew?
Right.
When I started playing other instruments is when I realized how boring it was to play drums or bass to some of my songs. Because it was like you said, you want to play more R&B stuff, or you want to play something with a groove. So here I was playing drums, and if you're just going doom, that, doom, that.
That's where you look to get creative. What can I do here? You work at it, and maybe you find, a line or something that kind of gives you some variety,
Yes.
So,
but that's when I started realizing this, like, because I was home as a 9-year-old kid playing and singing songs quietly, not wanting my family to hear me or have them interfere with my recordings,
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah.
So then I realized I'm singing in these lower keys, lower ranges of my voice. When I want to sing with a band, I actually have to pitch it up a little higher because I can't get my voice out over the band. There's too much stage volume to get.
Right.
Even if I turn up my mic because I sing quietly, it just turns up the band too.
Yeah.
So that's what's become so frustrating with playing live. If it's
that is difficult. Yeah, that is difficult. It's a little easier, I think, on some of those gigs you were talking about where you have a large stage and you don't have to be right on top of somebody.
Right.
Especially the drums. You're playing these little clubs and you're standing directly in front of the drums.
Yes.
Trying to sing.
The worst place was the incredible volume and sheer echoey sound of, all those early reflections at Johnny D's. Oh my God. When we played there, I could not believe how loud everything was. It was insane.
Yeah.
I started bringing the minus 45 dB over the earplugs I was wearing that I used to mow the lawn, and the sound guy was making fun of me. They do make earplugs, and it's like, oh, I know, they're in too.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
What I realized was that I had to write songs that were a little bit more up tempo. And when I was gigging with the Beatles songs, they were so happy. So I thought I got to maybe steer away from so many sad songs I was writing when I was in my teenage years. And I got to write songs that have a higher range so that I could sing out over a band.
Yeah.
Pitch wise. And then I started writing songs that had more of a fun thing to play as I was learning how to play drums.
Right.
So learning other instruments has enhanced the songwriting as well. Have you found that? You've probably written songs on guitar.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's, you can get inspiration from any instrument or anything that you play. It's not always, in fact, usually a lot of times when I write something, I don't put the bass. The bass is the last thing I put on.
Really?
Last thing I track, because I know I'm going to be able to come up with a bass line that'll work. I don't worry about that. I want to work out the chords and work it out on the guitar and the vocals and things like that. Well, I usually do the vocals, after everything's down. But a lot of times the bass is last when I'm recording.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
For me, when I start tracking a song, though, the bass is sometimes the very next thing after the original guitar part and the reference vocal, because I want
Yeah,
to decide where's the groove going to be. So what should
yeah,
I play on the drums?
yeah, yeah.
And because it's a little closer to the guitar, I can kind of suss out where its heartbeat should be.
Right.
Yeah, I
And a lot
love.
of times I'm doing the drums too on the keyboard, which I would much prefer to have a band playing, but it's so much easier to do it at home.
Yeah,
You plug the MIDI keyboard in and you've got some drum software and you're playing the beat, and then I'll do
yeah,
a track of the beat and then a track of the hi-hat and then a track of drum fills, and then just kind of put it all together, pull some things out, put the drum fills in, that kind
nice.
of thing. So yeah.
I know if I do that, I always think it's temporary. Then I get attached to it and go, nah, leave it. Sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, it can sound really good these days. Like I said, I'd prefer, a drummer in a full band, but a lot of times it's not possible. But
Yeah,
you have you play the drums and you can record the drums in your
yeah,
studio, so that's a great thing.
yeah. Then you can record some drum and bass players or your basses. You could do your bass at home, or you could do it here with a drummer too.
Right. Yeah.
That might be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, the parts are interesting because it's if I'm in another tuning, I have to actually even write myself out a chord chart after I write the song and find out what did I actually play.
Yeah. So you remember it.
So
Yeah.
that I could play the bass and
Oh
play
yeah.
the keyboard. Well, what am I looking for? I don't even know. I don't even
Right.
know what key I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Until I figure it out, and I go, oh, make a little lead sheet, and then go, oh, okay. So then I at least know where my roots are.
Yeah.
My friend Pete Girolamo plays bass, and when we were kids in bands together, he would say stuff like, El Pass, bass, roots, fifths, and passing tones. It's so great.
Yeah.
I find my roots, now I can get my fifths, and now I can find some passing tones.
Breaking it down, condensing it, not condensing, but breaking it down to its simplest form, right?
It totally was, yeah. Now, how's that fretless monster?
It's good. It's right here, right behind the iPad here.
I'm not sure it really fit the bill, like it really fit the desire to have an actual fretless, because it's
Yeah.
its own strange thing.
Yeah, it's a little different, I think, but it was fun playing on those couple of songs that I did for you.
Yeah,
It was very different for me because I've played an acoustic bass, but I never had one, so I never worked a lot on it.
oh, so when you meant acoustic, you meant an upright? You wanted an actual big
Oh no, I just
double bass? Or did you
yeah,
want a guitar fretless bass?
yeah, either one works.
Hmm.
So, but it was like I hadn't played a lot on that, so it's like I
Yeah,
really need to work at, like you said, the intonation, getting the note right where it should be.
right. That,
So,
what was it called? Flatterguitar.com that I sent you that link the other day. They're going to send me one of those things to put on over the neck and make it sound
oh
like a
yeah,
guitar.
yeah,
Yeah, they're going to send
that's
me one. So.
that's a great idea.
They
Yeah.
said one or two. If they send me two, I'll send you one.
Oh, okay.
Give you the other one. Maybe you can even make one of your basses seem fretless.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
said it's the dimension of like a Gibson neck, so it
yeah,
might not fit one of your basses, but it might. I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
The videos I watched sounded like it did the trick.
Wow.
Because I used to have one of my Strats set up for fretless. I literally
Yeah.
had a guy make it fretless, and it stayed fretless for 20 years. I would raise the action to play slide and put it back down to play fretless guitar.
Wow.
It sounded so similar that I went, put the frets back in, just make it a regular guitar again.
Yeah.
Missed it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
this thing
this
coming
thing
along.
that you're talking about is it snaps over the neck and it's smooth. So
I get the impression that
basic.
it's like silicone or something, and you like put the neck in it, and it snaps
Oh,
on,
okay. Yeah.
and it just goes over the strings.
Yeah.
And as you play it, it probably supersedes the height of the fret, right? So that everything is almost the same height, and it just sounds like you're sliding around on the strings. That's my guess.
Right.
I'm looking forward to seeing what it does.
Yeah, should be interesting.
You know, I'll be able to get an idea out of it and record it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, if that fretless doesn't work, you might be able to trade it for one that does.
Yeah. I know when I sent you the parts, there seemed to be a lot of overtones and things like that. So I think it was probably difficult for you to mix it and get it to sound right.
Yeah, there was some weird artifacts or noises or high end and squealy things, and I wasn't sure what was happening. I don't know if it's something we can do differently with the electronics, or if
maybe that's what it was. It might have been the
don't need so much brightness or whatever.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot more too about active EQs and things, so now I can probably just catch some of the weirdness before it and keep some of the tone.
I probably should have given it to you sort of more of a flat EQ. I had seen something online that said this is how to adjust your fretless to make it sound better, more like a stand-up, and I did that. I sort of EQ'd it that way, and I think that might have messed it up a little bit.
Oh, it depends on what bass, and it always depends on where you're starting from.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It was like when people go on a diet or something, you know, it's like you can't stay on it too long.
Yeah.
You wither away.
Disappear.
That's not the idea. You've gone a bit too far. Come back. Actually, Dinky Dawson said that to me. Do you know that name? He used to be the stage manager or the road crew guy with road manager for Fleetwood Mac.
Oh, yeah.
Dinky Dawson came to Berkeley to do a clinic in the early 80s, and he wanted to hear some of my songs, so I gave him a cassette. And he told me, "You're beyond it. Come back." I was just like,
beyond it? What do you mean?
He meant harmonically. It's like you're probably too far jazz. Like there's too many couplers. You're beyond it. Come back.
Wow. Okay.
It only takes 3 chords to shake the world. What are you doing?
Right. Yeah. Don't want to get too complicated, right?
But I like chords. Oh, that's funny.
Better to experiment.
Yeah.
Search for something different.
Yeah. Take your ears by surprise.
Yeah.
What would you say your favorite thing is about music?
I mean, I it's a toss-up to me. I think creating, writing, and playing live. You know, I like to play live too.
They're equal for you.
Yeah, pretty much. Maybe the creating is up a little higher, you know. But yeah, I mean, both of those things.
I remember.
What about you?
We were you, me, and Mary were sitting right in this room, right in this area, and we were just singing and playing with like an acoustic guitar or two, and the 3 voices. And I thought, this is what I want. You know, like I want to be able to blend and hear everybody without all the earplugs and all the stuff, because then I just feel like I'm playing by myself and everybody's far away. You know, like it's so isolating for me on stage because of the volume problem.
Right. I mean, the vocal blend is
that's
fantastic.
Fun.
Get 3 people singing, and it you know, everybody's blending. Like you said, I use that word all the time with the vocals. I mean, you get chills. I mean, it's just when you get it right and the vocals are all locked in, it's just fantastic.
And when it's folks that you love, like you and Mary, I mean, it's like so much fun. So that it's like, what could be better? This is fantastic. Why don't we do this? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So great. Yeah, I think writing and then bringing it into the studio and watching it come alive is probably my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Because writing is such a euphoric thing with playing with magic and watching it out of nowhere, like you say.
Yeah.
But then the studio is like getting a chance to paint it. You know?
Right. Yeah. I think when I was talking about it, I was kind of considering those things to be one thing, you know, recording and creating and recording. It really isn't. You're right. it's
Yeah,
two
no,
different.
I guess I could, yeah. I was saying it as one too, and then separated it, but yeah.
Yeah, but it is two different things. Now that you mention it,
Well, because there were so many years before I could actually hear my ideas, right? I started writing at 10, that was 1970. And by the time I got my first real multi-track tape recorder, it was a reel-to-reel 4-track,
yeah,
and it was 1977.
yeah, yeah. I
So yeah,
had one of those too, um,
the
and
Teac.
I yes, was it 3340 or 3440? Was
The 3340 was the bigger one, the 10-inch
yeah,
reels, 10.5-inch reels. I had the 7.5-inch reels. I had the
okay,
23.
yeah, yeah,
But that's what was so exciting about recording, was that I finally had a dream machine where I could hear all my ideas at once, all together, and other people could hear them, so they
right,
knew what I was talking about. When
right,
I hear harmony vocals, I hear horns, I hear, I
yeah,
hear other guitar parts, whatever.
yeah,
Fascinating.
yeah.
And
That was
look where
great.
it's come. It's like it's the norm now. Everybody's recording at home.
Yeah,
It's
it's so easy now.
fantastic. And all
Yeah,
the things that have become cost effective now, that a lot of us can have real nice stuff in home studios. It's like, oh my God.
right. I think if I remember correctly, the when I bought the cassette uh, Tascam cassette player, the 4-track, I think that was like $1,500.
Oh yeah.
Back in the '70s,
Yeah.
and I mean that's a lot of money for that unit when you think about it.
I know.
Especially back
Especially
then.
those dollars for
Yeah,
today. Yeah. If
yeah,
you Google at what it's worth today, it's like, wow. Couldn't
yeah,
believe it.
yeah,
Yeah, even the 1/2-inch 8-track that I had in 1985 or 86. Oh my God, that was super expensive stuff. Who knew?
yeah, yeah. And now you can use a laptop or a desktop, and
Laptops
there's
were
free.
expensive.
Yeah, right. But the recording software, you can get free recording software.
Yep.
Some of it's more expensive, of course, but if you're starting out, you could get GarageBand or
Yeah.
Band in a Box or something like that.
And people aren't listening back the way all of us enjoyed listening to different things, like they start listening to just whatever's now and start writing music. But when you go back and hear like some of the R&B folks, some of the jazz folks, some of the
Yeah,
guitar heroes, some of the bands that were cool, some of the songs that were written by
right,
several members of each band
right,
together, they add so much color and variety to your sound that you start to hear other synth sounds, other keyboards of those times. Like one of my students just said recently, "Oh my God, your album Among the Ruins with Too True is just incredible. Like,
wow,
how did you get those synth sounds?" And it was just the synthesizers we were using in those days.
yeah, right,
It was a Kurzweil and it was an ESQ1.
yeah, yeah,
It was just sound modules of things that everybody had in those days, and they're trying to figure out how to make those sounds now because the software doesn't sound like those things. You have to
right,
buy like vintage packs of
yeah, yeah,
sound sources and libraries to get some of them, and some of them I just recently got. It's so nice to hear those sounds again. He's right, they had some character.
yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I'm
And the
still,
'70s, the '70s was such a great time for music. I think, like you were saying,
hmm,
the variety of music in the '70s, and
hmm,
when jazz fusion started happening, when jazz was fusing with rock and with funk and with soul, and and you had rock and you had folk music, and it was just such a variety. You turn on the radio and you could hear so many different styles.
Meters and Joni Mitchell and
Yeah, yeah. I
and
guess maybe you still can today, but I don't hear it. It seems like it's a little more homogenized now, and I think that's what the record labels always wanted. They wanted you to sound like somebody else.
hmm.
But it was so much experimental stuff happening back then. I think a
Well,
lot
I
of
was
creativity.
just thinking this the other day, though. It's like the labels and the publishers must have been burned a lot taking chances on unknown acts and bands and artists, because why else would they keep not seeing something new and creative and giving it a shot? Right?
Yeah.
It's like, I as an artist, I think, how many times do they have to be told the new thing is not going to sound like something else, and this
Right.
is why you're passing it up, but you're passing up something you're going to regret. And it's
Yeah.
because they must have had equal or more downside to positive experiences with that or something. I don't
I
know.
guess if you were a record label decision maker, especially back then, you're afraid to make a mistake. You know, if I sign this band and they flop, maybe I'll lose my job. You know,
Yeah, there's always that, right?
so it's safer to just find someone that sounds just like another band that's been a hit. You know.
I really think, though, with enough exposure, the general public could get used to anything. You
Yeah.
just have to promote it.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah. It's all
in
about the hype.
in the 80s, when even the major independent labels were breaking new artists, they'd spend $1 million a year on advertising to make that person a household name, and it took 6 or 7 years to break them.
Yeah.
And I would say, "Oh, have you heard of such and such?" And my mom would say, "No." You know, I
Yeah.
said, "I went to school with so and so. Did you hear that?" You're like, you must have heard of her. And she'll say no. And then all of a sudden, she's on the cover of TV Guide. It's like, now you've heard of her. You know, like that. I always knew how big somebody got if my
Yeah.
mom heard of her.
Yeah. Right.
It's like, we've gotten to the regular people now. You know, like not just a special TV station or a special radio station.
Yeah.
You know, the 70s, I just loved the keyboard sounds.
Yeah.
Fender Rhodes and all the variations of
Oh,
the
Rhodes. Yeah.
piano,
Rhodes was great.
Peanut T and the Wurlitzer and all the flavors of Wurlitzers and distorted Wurlitzers and overdrive. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Love, love, love. Still
Great.
use all those.
Yeah.
Some with a MIDI guitar.
Right. Yeah.
Clavinet.
Yeah.
It is fun to play that stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, do you want to make an album here sometime?
Love to.
We
Yeah.
could do a lot of it at home, and then we can mix it here, or
Yeah. Bring the tracks. Yeah.
get people to play on it. Whatever we can't do ourselves, find somebody that can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be fun.
Yeah, you've got your people. You know who you like. Well, I mean, in terms of drums and stuff, you know.
Right.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not? We have the technology.
Did I send you the clip of James Gadson, drummer?
Yes.
I did get that to you, right?
Wasn't that cool?
Yeah.
Is that something you're wanting to create a tune with that
Well,
kind
I just love the way the guy plays, especially on that video. He's just totally into it. His body's moving with the beat, and he's in such a groove and in the pocket, and it just sounds great. Love it.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And that was when he was with Bill Withers, and that particular song was When I'm Kissing My Love, I think was the name of the song. Yeah, it's just a great groove.
And when did you first hear that?
I heard that. I mean, we're familiar with the Bill Withers stuff because he was so popular back then, but I didn't realize, I didn't know about James Gadson until more recently. I had heard his name. I know he played with a lot of different people, but not too long ago when I saw that.
Everybody has such different references and favorites and things, though. Like, sometimes you can mention all kinds of names I've never heard of, and then I hear different guitar players go off on tangents mentioning people that I never listened to, or even bands from any decade from the 70s on that I couldn't hum one song of theirs or whatever.
Right.
And it's because I was so busy writing and doing my own thing, It's like, so I go back and listen to stuff now and really enjoy a lot more.
Yeah.
There's so much to it also felt like when we were kids we had almost a handle on being able to enjoy what was out there. Now it feels overwhelming what's out there. Do you find that?
You mean overwhelming because of all the different places that you can get it from, like YouTube and
Just the fact
Spotify,
that there's so
radio.
much of it, and even any one place, there's just so much of it. I mean, aren't there like 70,000 songs or albums released every single day?
Oh, really?
It's
Wow.
like it's enormous.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, everybody and his brother's got a record out.
Yeah. It's so easy to release it now. Still hard to get paid, but it's easy to release it though.
I know. I just heard who was saying it. I think it was Richard Niles was saying the song "Happy."
Oh, yeah.
'Cause I'm happy.
Yeah.
Made $250 off of streaming.
250.
Yeah,
Wow.
with all those streams.
That is really depressing. That's
And on
all
that
you can
note, let's
make
just
off of a
close it off, folks.
a
Right?
huge hit like that, right? Wow.
I don't know why people value the sports more than the music.
Yeah.
I would like to see that change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have
I
any
like
theories as
like
to
sports
why.
too, but yeah, sports is outrageous with the what they're paid. It's incredible,
Yeah.
you know.
That movie Air is really good though. I just watched that the other night. That's
What
awesome.
is it?
Called Air. It's the
Air?
story of Nike with Michael Jordan.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It was on Prime.
Yeah. We just watched a documentary on. Remember the band Fanny
Oh
from
yeah.
the 70s?
I didn't know them then, but I met June a bunch of years ago.
I
We did
didn't know them
select.
either, and I found them a while back on YouTube, and they were
Oh wow.
playing a Marvin Gaye tune, and I said they are incredible. I said, how come I don't know about them?
Yeah.
And this was from
It's
they
like
were in the
David Bowie's
70s.
favorite band.
What's that?
It was David Bowie's favorite band.
Yes, they mentioned him a lot in the documentary. You got to check it out. It's really interesting.
Okay.
And one of them, who's the one that you met?
June.
Was
June
she the
June
was she the
Millington.
guitarist?
Yeah.
She lives in Western Mass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. She lives in Goshen, I think it is.
Yeah. She was out in
But
California. She was wanting to do something together, but there was no budget. And
oh
then
yeah,
in Goshen, there's no budget, so
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I think she felt like I was trying to hone in on something, and I'm never like that. I'm just always trying to just dance with other people and
yeah.
make my world a little bigger,
When was that, Lauren?
Uh, it is probably from the mid '90s on. We've been in touch here and there
Oh,
off and
cool,
on.
cool.
Yeah. And then when she moved here, she told me about it, and then Leanne Unger went to spend some time with her out there. I think one
Oh,
day.
yeah. Check that out, though. The documentary. It's on. I think PBS actually, but it's
Yeah, I saw a
very
commercial
very
for it.
interesting. Very
Yeah,
interesting.
I will.
Yeah,
I think I'll watch it today.
yeah.
Then I don't know if it was it was honoring Patti Smith. I played at a Rocker Girl conference in Seattle, Washington, a
Yeah.
bunch of years ago. They were honoring Patti Smith, and Bonnie Raitt was there, and June Millington was there, and it sort of all hung out then. But
Yeah.
yeah, I can't remember what happened after that. I think she's just been in Goshen ever since, really.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Mm.
She teaches. She teaches a lot of things and gives a lot of young girls a chance, which is awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they said they had started a arts
Right.
institute type of thing or something out there. Yeah.
Yeah, IMA, I think.
Yes.
Institute of Musical Arts or something.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Really.
Getting people to volunteer and build the studio and give them instruments and all that kind of fun stuff.
I try to get people to volunteer to do that for me. Build me a studio.
Yeah. Did you ever get to see that special with what band was it? I simply wouldn't have brought it up, Marie. Did you hear what you just said? You brought up something you couldn't remember who they said or who said it. What they said or who said. I simply wouldn't bring it up. It's a Lily Tomlin skit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I could see a lot of edits now. Uh, yeah, the guy from Fish, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
know
I
it.
did see that one. That was
That
good
was fun, wasn't it?
That was, yeah.
It's just like, people hanging out like us. We just hang out, eat
Right.
together, make music.
Same thing.
No big whoop. Exactly the same thing. I love those stories where people say, well, there was just like one song made me millions of dollars. I lived off that one song for the rest of my life. I'm like, I want that.
Right. Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice?
Let's be independently wealthy, Mike.
Yeah. Take one hit. That would be good.
That would be good. Let's see. So this has been awesome.
Yeah.
It's always lovely to hang with you.
Great to see you and talk to you.
Thank you so much for doing this. I've always wanted, our conversations normally turn into fun things like this. So I thought, why don't we do one?
Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah.
On the camera.
Yeah.
And, this has been
So you can edit it and make it look good. Make it look more professional, right?
It looks pretty good now.
I mean, just the way it's put together,
I wasn't going to do too much to it. What did you have in mind?
Oh, I don't know. No.
You want a mustache?
I'm sure. Yeah. No, I got rid of that years ago.
I want to see the beard and mustache. Have you seen that? When I put on the little beard and the little goatee, I look like Danny Harrison.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I had it all at one time or another. I had for years I had a mustache, and then I had a goatee for a while, and then
guys, if I put it on,
there it is.
It's all right. Till you do this, then you go, oh, it's right underneath. Oh no. Get that off of your face. What are you doing? Oh, that's funny.
It is.
It's great. No, but yeah, this is really cool, and it would be fun to do some more musical things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
More original tunes from that January writing session that I haven't done yet, and there's more older ones. There's some that we've done I haven't even released yet. So that
should make a plan to come out and do some, like you said, do some recording there if you're into doing that.
Oh yeah, might be fun to do things live like that.
Yeah.
There's more space now too because I've been moving things around.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Well, thank you so much. Anything that you wanted to say or talk about that I forgot to ask?
We covered a lot. Nothing I could think of.
Except how much we love each other and respect each other.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Definitely.
It's always great working with you and playing music, getting to create some bass lines for you that I never would have, like I said, I never would have come up with otherwise,
Right. It's a whole other form, a whole other puzzle to solve.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why our brains get a kick out of it.
Yes.
Those birds must be at your house.
You hear them?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, they're right outside here.
That's awesome. Yeah. A little birdie told me.
I think we have a sparrow's nest up in the third floor. There's a light outside, and they always have a nest up there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
My grandmother used to always say pastorelli meant little sparrows gently passing.
Oh, cool.
And every Italian teacher I ever had, when I'd say, it means, pastorelli means little sparrows gently passing, they go.
That's not what it means.
And then when I look at the coat of arms for pastorelli, it often has a sparrow in it.
Oh, cool. So maybe, she could be right.
She must be right. I don't know why they're not, but or weren't.
It's a musical name, isn't it? Passarelli.
Passarelli, yes.
Very musical.
Yeah. The whole Italian language is
not like bishop.
They didn't change it from anything else from.
Well, I've heard. I was on Ancestry, and I'm back to the late 1500s in Dorset, England, where my father's family, the Bishops, came from.
Wow.
I think the last one I got was like 1598 or something like that in Bridport, not Bridgeport, but Bridport, Dorset, England. So really interesting.
Some England vibes in you. That's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Very cool.
I would say more Irish than anything, but there's some British there, you know.
Yeah.
And then they came through Canada, Newfoundland.
Oh wow.
That part of the family, anyway.
Bisciano.
Yeah. I've heard that the name Levesque is somehow some variation of bishop. Don't ask me how, but I've heard this a couple of times, like the French version, Levesque.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, it sounds nothing alike, but
and no etymology cross.
I haven't seen that at all in the Ancestry thing, but I've heard that from a few people.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe someday you will know.
Yes. We'll keep searching.
Still be on the lookout. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Mike.
No problem. Thanks for asking. It's always fun.
Always
talking music. We love talking music.
They love it. Well, take good care.
All right, you too.
Ciao.
See you.